Did you see what just happened with Jay Higgins? The linebacker who stole the show in the Ravens preseason might be walking straight into a nightmare nobody saw coming. He balled out, put up eye-popping numbers, and proved he deserves a roster spot. But even after all that, he's staring at the very real possibility of being cut. And here's the crazy part. It's not about a lack of talent. No, the problem is something else, something way more complicated. There's a situation brewing inside the Ravens roster that could turn out to be brutal for Higgins. What happens next could decide whether he lives out his dream in Baltimore or ends up suiting up for another team. The Ravens reminded everyone why they're known as one of the best preseason teams in the NFL. They didn't just win, they dominated, finishing undefeated and capping it off with a statement 30-3 blowout over Washington. Even in games that technically don't count, Baltimore made it clear they don't step on the field just to mess around. But it wasn't just the final scores that stood out. What really grabbed everyone's attention was how the young guys and rookies stepped up and stole the spotlight. Every game, it felt like a new name emerged and made an impact. That's classic Baltimore, finding and developing talent everywhere, whether it's through the draft or in guys nobody else wanted. That's exciting for fans because it proves this team isn't just leaning on its established stars. There's a new wave of hungry players ready to step up when the regular season kicks off. But here's the problem. The deeper the roster, the harder it is for everyone to stick around. And that's where it gets tough. Sometimes, guys who absolutely shine in the preseason don't make the cut simply because there isn't enough room. The 53-man roster limit isn't just about talent. It's about experience, positional needs, and versatility, which means even someone who's earned it on the field might see their dream delayed. And that's the exact dilemma Baltimore faces. How do you build the best roster possible when you've got more talent than spot available? That's when the pressure of cut-down day really starts to hit. In the NFL, talent alone doesn't guarantee a job. The rule is ruthless. Every team can only carry 53 players into the season. That means even guys who played well might get cut, not because they failed, but because there just isn't enough space. It's a harsh process, and for players who've proven themselves in camp, it feels downright unfair. For the Ravens, it's even tougher. Most of the roster is already locked up with proven vets and high draft picks, and those guys rarely lose their spots. So someone like Jay Higgins, who turned heads in the preseason, isn't just fighting on the field. He's battling against the numbers game. It's like playing two games at once. You've got to perform, but you also need your team to actually need someone at your position. Otherwise, no matter how good you look, that call might still come. This is the cold business side of the NFL, where front office decisions can outweigh performance. That's the paradox in Baltimore right now. Having too much talent is a blessing, but when it comes time to trim the roster, it becomes a curse. And Higgins is a perfect example of how success doesn't always equal security. And that's exactly why the Ravens' track record of finding hidden gems stands out so much, because they've been in this position before and know how to handle it. If there's one thing the Ravens do better than almost anyone, it's scouting. Year after year, they crush the draft, but what really sets them apart is how often they find undrafted free agents who turn into legit contributors. In Baltimore, turning nobodies into playmakers is almost tradition. Jay Higgins fits right into that story. Like him, guys such as Keon Martin, Ruben Lowry, and Chandler Martin came in with no draft hype, no expectations, but still managed to prove they belong. The fact that all of them stood out this preseason just reinforces Baltimore's reputation for digging up hidden gems. That's rare in the NFL. Most teams give up quickly on players who weren't drafted, but the Ravens give them chances, develop them, and watch them shine. And when they do, it completely changes the narrative, proving talent can come from anywhere. The problem? Even with all that success, not everyone can stay. The final 53 means tough choices, and some guys won't make it. Still, this approach is part why the Ravens stay strong year after year, always refreshing their roster with new talent. And Higgins, in particular, has the numbers to back it up. He wasn't just good, he was one of the defensive standouts of the entire preseason. Looking at Higgins' preseason, it's hard to believe he's even on the bubble. Against the Colts, he pulled an insane 88.1 grade from PFF, something you rarely see from an undrafted rookie. Then he backed it up with an 84.0 against the Cowboys and closed out with an 83.2 versus Washington. 3 games, 3 elite grades. Those numbers aren't just random stats. They tell the story of a guy who maximized every single opportunity. Higgins didn't just flash. He was consistent, reliable, and played at a high level every week. For an undrafted linebacker, that's basically a calling card saying, I can play in this league. On the field, his instincts jumped out. He read plays quickly, put himself in the right spots, and brought an intensity you can't coach. That's why so many analysts are calling him one of the most unfair potential cuts on any roster. But as is always the case in the NFL, talent alone doesn't protect you. Depth charts do. And the linebacker room in Baltimore is deep, and that depth is exactly what makes Higgins' pass so tough.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
The issue for Higgins isn't his game, it's timing. Baltimore already has Roquan Smith locked in as the unquestioned leader. Next to him, there's a wide-open battle, but Higgins is still stuck behind names that carry more weight. Trenton Simpson, for example, has a pedigree and is being groomed for a bigger role. Teddy Buchanan was a 4th-round pick, which gives him built-in priority in the team's plans. And Jake Hummel? He may not stand out on defense, but his value on special teams keeps him safe. That leaves Higgins as a 4th or 5th option in a group that doesn't have room for that many guys. And that's the harsh reality. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you're playing better. Draft status and versatility often win out when the roster crunch comes. This happens across the league, but in Baltimore, the linebacker depth makes it even tougher. For Higgins, it's an uphill climb, even though he's done everything you could ask for. And if the competition wasn't enough, his athletic profile might be the final nail in the coffin. One of the knocks on Higgins is that he's not the most athletic linebacker out there. And in today's NFL, where speed and sideline-to-sideline range are gold, that could be the detail that costs him a spot. It's not that he doesn't know how to play. Clearly he does. He's got instincts, discipline, and football IQ. But when coaches weigh decisions, raw athletic traits can tip the scales. Baltimore may look at Higgins and see a ready-now player, but they might choose someone who offers more long-term upside physically. That's the classic NFL dilemma. Do you go with production today or potential tomorrow? Higgins has proven he's ready now, but others on the roster might carry a bigger growth ceiling, even if they haven't performed at his level yet. In the end, it might come down less to effort or performance, and more to Baltimore's vision for future. And that's what makes the situation so tricky. His preseason breakout may still not be enough. And here's the kicker. If Baltimore lets him go, there's almost zero chance he clears waivers. And this is the nightmare scenario. Higgins showed he can play, and the whole league saw it. If he hits waivers, you can bet another team will scoop him up. And that would mean Baltimore loses a guy they discovered, developed, and watched turn into a legitimate NFL talent. That's a tough pill to swallow because the Ravens know how much effort goes into finding players like this. You don't just replace guys like Higgins easily, especially undrafted. Losing him now could come back to haunt them. At the same time, they got to look at the big picture. You can't sacrifice depth at other positions just to hang onto one linebacker. It's a cruel dilemma, but that's the reality of building an NFL roster. At the end of the day, Higgins might be one of those guys who did everything right and still doesn't get rewarded. A reminder of just how unforgiving this game can be, where even success doesn't always guarantee survival. And that's what makes this cut-down day in Baltimore one of the most tense storylines to watch. Jay Higgins did everything possible to earn his spot. 3 strong games, elite grades, and a level of consistency most rookies can't match. But with the depth in Baltimore's linebacker room, and the brutal math of the 53-man roster, his breakout could end in heartbreak. What should have been a reward might turn into disappointment. And the Ravens could lose a player who's clearly NFL ready. So here's the big question. Will the Ravens find a way to keep Higgins in the building, or are we about to see him shine somewhere else? Either way, One thing's clear. Decisions like this show just how much every little detail matters in Baltimore. And as the season approaches, this cutdown isn't just about numbers. It's about the future of the team.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.